This is phase two of our podcast, Chutzpah and Soul. And let me explain those two words. Chutzpah is like audacity. It shows guts and courage. That's the positive side. The negative side is manipulating, taking advantage, like somebody standing in a line and pushing their way to the front of the line. But we're focused on the positive. Soul, wow. People who personify soul are expressing a connection with the deepest parts of life, the most emotional parts of life. And they do it through music, of course, but they do it through just a way of life. And you know soul when you see it. It doesn't have to be African American, although African Americans have been really good, really right on with personifying soul through music and so forth. But it can come from any group. We are saying that chutzpah and soul together make an incredible combination. And the combination is going against the dominant culture. The dominant culture does not support chutzpah and soul. So we represent an alternative. And we're doing this in memory of my lifetime hero, the famous comedian Lenny Bruce. If I had a Palestinian flag, I would hold it up along with an Israeli flag, which I do have. And the Israeli flag is not evil. This is not a case of black and white. This is black and black. Israel and Palestine, neither side is 100% wrong or right. We're living in fateful times in the existential wilderness. Jewish Israelis and Palestinian Arabs are surrounded by ignorance, which leads to predictable anti-Semitism and anti-Arab feelings. They not only fanned the flames, but also demonstrated an utter lack of common sense, being rhetorical rather than intuitive, and promoting slogans and ideology dogmatic to the max, and targeting and blaming only one of the antagonists, Israel, and nothing about Hamas. This is not hate speech. It's just the thinking of junior high school kids. Principle number one, American and diaspora Jews cannot be blamed for the policies of the Israeli government. One more time, because this is fundamental. American and diaspora Jews cannot be blamed for the policies of the Israeli government. But the deeper problem I'm pissed off about is, why do Jewish students feel unsafe? I'm not living on a campus nor affiliated with any university, but if I were, I would do everything possible to prevent my tribe from feeling unsafe by any legal means necessary, including self-defense. If a college campus is considered unsafe for Jewish students, does this mean that Gen Z Jews don't know how to defend themselves? Then what do they do about the insurrectionists, neo-Nazis, and conspiracy theory wackos? Calling out all Jewish parents: if you've overprotected your kids, then call yourself guilty and stop doing it. Zionism is not some mysterious conspiratorial force with strings being pulled from abroad, from the West. It's simply the Jewish national liberation struggle. And similar to all other national liberation struggles, what happens is they seize power or gain power, and quickly they're no longer about liberation, but about domination and often corruption. Even the African National Congress post Nelson Mandela. The idealism becomes twisted into something else. And this has happened all over the world, and all over a world, a vulnerable group in that nation is persecuted and dominated. Therefore, Zionism and the State of Israel are ultimately no different, no more immoral and no more moral than other nations. All right, for part two of this show, of this really important program, we've welcomed Michael Pagano. He grew up in New Rochelle, but he lives in Arlington, Mass. And he's involved in distributing on a wholesale level schmatas. No, he's involved in really important stuff. And he's one of these people who helps people. I mean, he helps people. He's a real humanist. And I'm proud to call him my friend.
What do you think, Israel should do about Hamas as one question, and what should they do about Gaza?
Gaza in general. Well, first of all, they should not be bombing and destroying Gaza. It's outrageous. And bombing and killing medical people and hospitals and telling Gazans to go to the south and the central and then bombing those places. And cutting off electricity and cutting off all that stuff. Hamas, it sounds bad to say they've got to be destroyed, but they do. They have this determination to kill Jews, not just Israel, but to kill Jews. And it seems like they've been doing that, or they want to do that. And the massacre on October 7th was really, really an unusual type of terrorist incident. The level of brutality and the level of indiscriminate killing. I don't believe the thing that if there's a ceasefire, I'm in favor of ceasefire. And people say they're against it because they say Hamas will do it again. But that's not true, because what happened on the 7th was the worst intelligence and security failure ever. So Israel would not let it happen again.
I think we know this answer because of your thoughtful stand, as you've told us all about what's happening. But do you stand with Israel, right or wrong?
No. No, I wouldn't do that for anything. And the thing that I've learned is that there's a difference. This is a cool idea. There's a difference between nationalism and patriotism. Nationalism, by definition, is pretty much evil, and patriotism is not. I can't really define the difference, but it feels right.
It does. I feel like nationalism is I'm better than you.
Yeah.
And patriotism is I'm just proud to be who I am. You be proud to be where you're from too.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think Israel is willing to give up territory seized in 1967, the West Bank or Gaza?
It has not been. I mean, it's really a tragedy. And those people who predicted that, right after the Six-Day War, a general, I'm not sure which one, predicted what's happened, that it was going to corrupt and really sort of destroy the fabric of Israeli society. Not to mention what's done for the Palestinians, but it hurts Israel to be doing that.
A line was crossed, in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, to take on that many extra people, so to speak, and to never give them any kind of full status. So you're running people, but not giving them real rights, and so that's just by nature, that's by nature self-destructive.
Is it hard for you to see a critique of Israel from non-Jewish people? Does it feel different than if Jewish people are criticizing Israel?
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, but the other thing I forgot to say was what I said at the beginning on the spoiler alert. I would love to see people together march Israeli flags and Palestinian flags. That has not happened anywhere. That
does sound like key, doesn't it?
For me, yeah.
Yeah.
And it would open up a lot, I think.
I think so too. I think with all sorts of confrontations, when gay people were protesting for rights, there were their parents with them.
Oh, really?
Supporting them. Heterosexual people saying, yeah, this is something that these people need. We support them, even though we're not typically them. We're not them.
Yeah.
And then for you to say, yeah, Arabs can demonstrate with Israelis and Israelis for something that makes sense.
Right.
Something that feels right.
Yeah.
And you're right, you're just having two different sides of people yelling at each other from across the street.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right.
And that's happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think Jews and Arabs have things in common?
A lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Just like culturally, like personality style. They talk with their hands. You know, they're very expressive. Hebrew and Arabic sound alike, a lot alike. They're both languages that go from right to left, right to left. The food is the same, essentially. Yeah, when I was in Israel, I had a lot of interaction with Palestinians, a lot. So I think there's a lot of interaction, a lot of commonality.
Do most Israelis respect lines like at a supermarket? Do they?
No.
They don't.
In fact, you're considered to be a sucker if you do that. There's some word in Hebrew I can't remember. You're really put down for doing that. You wanted to come back to one of the questions, I think.
I did.
Yeah.
I don't recall what it was.
Oh,
But
I think-
let's continue this again.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable to talk to
Oh,
you.
oh,
Let's
good,
continue this
good,
again.
good.
Yeah.
Today is a windy day, somewhat cold, Sunday, November 19th. And we're in a famous place, Harvard Yard. And we're at Harvard because why? Because it's become ground zero in the controversy about Israeli-Palestine conflict on campuses. I've already talked about what happened, but I want to say that the aftermath and the feelings that have come out are pretty extreme and they're unsettling because the university should be a place of dialogue and of rational thought. And it should be a comforting place, really, for young people in particular, living away from home for the first time. And it's not supposed to be a place of intense contention. There can be debate, dialogue, and differences, but it shouldn't rise to this level. And there's been a real aftermath, a real blowback in so many ways. So we're at ground zero, Harvard University, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Sunday, November 19th.